All right. Well, Penny, call the meeting order. Get started. Okay. First agenda item, we've got recommended action to approve and file the minutes for the August Board of Park Commissioners meeting. Everybody had a chance to read those minutes. Any changes? Okay, I'll make a motion to approve in advance. Second. Got a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Okay. All right, the first item of consideration, we have Chief Snow with us today. Chief Snow. Want to set the podium? Urban cutting system.
Well, good afternoon. Thank you very much for allowing me to provide you with some information today, a little bit of history and then an idea. Also with me today is retired Wichita firefighter, Lieutenant Dee Wilson. He's sitting in the back there. He's what I refer to as our resident expert in this arena because he's been doing it for an awful long time. He also serves as the recording secretary for the Kansas Firefighters Museum. The information, I want to give you just a Reader's Digest amount of history in regards to how we got to today, and then the idea that that we're here to obtain approval from moving forward. So it took about 3 years, and it was some collaboration between legislators and stakeholders to pass some legislation. And what the legislation did was it established the Kansas Firefighters Memorial Advisory Committee. The committee, originally, that committee was supposed to consist of 9 members. And their ultimate goal or their ultimate task was to design and to fundraise for a fallen firefighter memorial to be constructed on the grounds of the state capitol. So in between time, about that same time that was going on, Wichita, some friends of Wichita decided that they wanted to build their own memorial here beside the Kansas Firefighters Museum, which is located at 1300 South Broadway. Anyway, so, and then they wanted to host an annual event, which we have since 2002. So as you can imagine, Wichita got theirs up and going very quickly. And Topeka was still in the process of trying to get things arranged. And so there began to be conflict then between the two groups. And even though they met and they tried to reconcile those conflicts, it didn't happen. And during the course of several years, then Topeka hadn't moved any further with their memorial. And so the project just became halted. And to this day, since their project has become halted and the Wichita one has thrived, Wichita has, in reality, been the state's memorial, and even though it's not officially recognized. So what we've done so far is we've reached out to lobbyists for the various state firefighting related organizations, the Director of Facilities for the state, the Kansas State Historical Society, and asked for some additional information on this proposed state memorial. And
A little bit of background in regards to this item. If you recognize this area, here we have water treatment plants, and here we have Botanica, all the way over here to their new lawn. This is the newest parking lot that we have in regards to supporting Cowtown, which is right over here. And then we have this wonderful, awesome golf course that goes around here. I have to say that because Jesse's in the room. But what we do have is this road that goes all the way around back up here and comes outside of the frame, but loops back around over here. And in recent months, we've had a lot of situations in regards to gunshots, a lot of situations in regards to street racing, both motorcycles and cars, cars going into this parking lot, doing donuts, revving up their engines and just being extremely disruptive on a lot of different levels. So it's really caused some concern in regards to patrons that are going to all the different areas over here, including Cowtown. Out of here, out of the screen frame is the Wichita Art Museum, but we also have Botanica. So what's been proposed is to close this road in the evenings from 9:30 in the morning and opening it up at 6 a.m. And we would use Botanica staff as well as golf staff to open and close this. And we can definitely do this on a temporary basis and just kind of see how things go. If it needs to stay closed a little bit longer, we can definitely do that. So the gates would be over here just south of the entrance to Botanica. So when Botanica is closing in the evenings, or if they have a night event, this driveway could be used. Also the exit out of the golf course area. So this whole area back here, the maintenance folks, we have a maintenance shop over here. The maintenance folks would have keys to get in and out of the gate and lock the gate behind them. But this whole area would be void of vehicles. And then we have another gate over here right in front, well, depending on which direction you're going, right in front or right behind the roundabout. And over here is that little roundabout. And we would have a gate that would go to that area as well. We will keep the trail open for bicycles and pedestrians, the folks that are on their skateboards and roller skates, because this is actually used as a transportation corridor, because over here we have a bridge that goes across the river. So that would still be available and open. Here's where that would connect to that trail and come back over here. I think it pops out over in this direction for the sidewalk, but also it continues back on this back side on the other side of Cowtown. So those would still be available. And the whole idea behind this is just to kind of change the environment a little bit, see if we can control this a little bit better. So this is what we would be placing in there. We'd be putting these that are really easy to open and close and lock behind them. So obviously they'll be very much reflecting tape on it so that you can see it. There'll be signage there as well. So these are all the things that we're going to be putting in there. This was a meeting that was brought up by Botanica, but we really spent some time with the police department. We worked with Mike Armour, who's our street engineer, and we kind of really talked it all the way through. So if nothing else, we have the infrastructure in place. And if we need to change it later on, and we can have the opportunity to leave it open later, there's that possibility. So just wanted to share this with you and let you guys know that from the director's point of view, my authority and my powers to be, I have the opportunity to close this. And we're going to be doing this relatively soon. So I wanted you to be aware of it. Hopefully you're supportive of this. But I'm just letting you know that it's coming, so you guys can answer any questions or have any concerns about it. And again, if it doesn't work, we can always change different direction and different opportunities. But by my authority, I have agreed to do this and work with the other departments, and this makes it a little bit easier for the police department, makes it a little bit safer for Botanica and Cowtown. So.
Can you go back to the
Sure.
the map and then show me where the.
Alrighty, good afternoon, everyone. Tim Kellums, Municipal Planner for the City of Wichita. Here again for another PIP update. I feel like every single time I come up here, it's amazing that felt like we just did this. But as a reminder to everyone, this can be found online. We update this quarterly. That coincides with this presentation here. Again, I've placed a spreadsheet in front of the commissioners so that they can follow along kind of what we have internally, but everything is online. So a quick way to get there is through departments, then over to Park and Recreation, over to the About Us, you can click the little plus over here, and then get over to Capital Improvement Program. And as you scroll down, you can see what all we have here. Again, we have identified projects, initiated projects, scheduled projects, in progress, and then completed. There's a nice little map up here kind of showing everything as well. I'll kind of start off with identified projects here at the beginning. If you recall, last time we did not have a lot on here. That's because they just approved the CIP for 2025. So that's where we have all of our new projects get added in. And so now it's all, since it's all been approved, it's now identified. Once it gets initiated, then it goes into the initiated projects. I'll kind of leave it here just for a little bit so that we kind of go through them so we all know what's ahead of us for the next year. 2025 athletic field renovations. That's an annual one that we have pretty much every year. 2025 athletic courts, Crystal Prairie Lake Park and art. And so those are two associated with the art associated with that project. We actually went to design council earlier today to talk about how we want to get the artists involved on that project. 2025 hydration stations to install drinking fountains in downtown Wichita. 2025 irrigation systems, that is to improve irrigation systems across the park system. As you all know, the park master plan that was approved by the city council. So that is in here, down here. 2025 park signage, that's to upgrade the signage across the park systems, which are badly needed. 2025 park facility enhancements. This one is really important because the facilities over time, they just need maintenance, just annual maintenance and things like that. The things that we are working on are improving the roof for Orchard and Evergreen. As you all know, roof systems cost quite a bit of money, so we've had to pair together a number of different years to do that. And we may be tapping into 2025 to make sure that happens. Otherwise, we'll probably be using it on Austin recreations flooring up there. 2025 Pawnee Prairie Park improvements. That's to work with the 2024 Pawnee Prairie Park improvements. That project is kind of up in the air right now. I think we're still exploring kind of options for that park. I think we'll have more direction here in the near future, but we're kind of hanging on to that and 2025 money to we figure out exactly what we want to do with that structure out there through a long time. 2025 playground rehab development. That's an important one because that's for Proct Wetlands Park, and that is to help support a grant that we received from the Land and Water Conservation Fund. So that one is very important to us. We'll be putting out an RFP here shortly for the playground over there at Proct Wetlands. 2025 trail path and sidewalk repair. This one is another important one that was recently added to the CIP, so this is a little bit new to us, but thankful that we have it because our trails do need help. Pawnee Prairie Park is one of the ones that we get, we get comments on a lot of things, but one of the ones that we have is Pawnee Prairie Park, where the trail system out there contains larger rocks than what we'd like to see. So our plan is to utilize some of this money. I don't think we'll have to use all of it to improve that, since we know that that's a heavily used park. 2025 walking paths, which is a little bit different than the sidewalk repairs path and trail. This one is mostly going to be used at Chisholm Creek Park to match for another Land and Water Conservation Fund grant that we've received. So that will be doing a walking path all around the north part of the Chisholm Creek Park North, which I guess if you haven't been out there, it's actually a really pretty neat park. And I think most people don't really know about it, partially because there is the parking lot's not super great. There's not a paved trail. So I think this will get a lot more people out into the park. I think, mentally in your mental map, sometimes, once you have a highway, it kind of segments the park as it does, but also in your mind about where to go. So I think this will get more people out there to that nice park. OJ Watson Park receive some more money for Watson Park. There's a number of different things that we have out there that we'd like to utilize for. We have existing money for it, but we need to plan a little bit further ahead on different improvements out there. And one of them is the train depot. There's another, the horse shed out there. There's a number of different things that need help at O.J. Watson Park. So some of the funding for this will be utilized for that. You know, Design Council's been great because they have $100,000 dedicated for art, so we were able to kind of liven up Watson Park. I know that there are bits and pieces of some things I have in my mind, and that would be a good spot for it. One of them maybe being at the seasons, one of them at like maybe the concessions there or something to help add a little bit more character to that park. Again, we still have Finley Ross down here for 2 years, again, waiting to get a little bit further along with funding for that one. I don't have anything new on that one, but I know that there's some things in the background worked on for that one. So those are all the identified ones. So you'll see those over the next year kind of progress through these presentations. So in terms of initiated ones, we haven't initiated anything from 2025. So all those are still in that identified area. So Pond Prairie Park improvements, that's as I mentioned before, that's the 2024 money for that project. Again, this project is now on hold till we get a little bit further information on what to do out there. Try, I don't know if you want to share anything now, or you want to kind of let's see how the cookies crumble or anything.
There's still a lot of discussion about what's the future look like for Pine Prairie Park. And so we're exploring a lot of different opportunities and ideas, but nothing has really risen up to the top yet. So we're gonna hold off on this money until we find out what we want to do. And so we got some community engagement, but we also look at different stakeholders to help us with that direction.
Okay. Yep. So again, just as you said, just kind of hang on to it for a while. 2024 park signage. That one is one that we kind of been a little bit behind on, and you may see a little bit why when we get into the in progress projects. But 2024 park signage, that's something that we know that we plan on getting into right now. We're going to we kind of have a plan. I think this is something that can be done. You know, there's a lot of application that's involved with this project, not as much stuff outside. So we think this is a good kind of winter project to put a plan out to get bid or do an RFP for this one. So I think the time works out pretty well for park signage. Bike facility improvement, that one is it's initiated, it's almost about to go into schedule, which is when we have a designer on board for that. Facilities has reached out to local architecture firm to help design a storage facility for the chemicals that we have. Right now, we don't have a centralized chemical storage facility. And the idea is that we would be looking at South Lakes, pretty much near one of the existing maintenance buildings out there. So we wouldn't be taking up really any high priority land or anything like that, but it kind of makes sense because there's an access drive, there's things like that. There's people out there all the time that are working out there, so there's eyes on the facility and things like that. So I think it's a good location, but we still need to get a designer officially on board for that project. And then a few other things that are going on with that. We're still we are making improvements to the buildings themselves. Now that pool season is over, splash pad season is still amongst us, but pool season is over, so we can get into the facilities and start making more long-term repairs, new paint, new coats of paint, different things like along those lines to help liven up the facilities. 2024 playground, as I mentioned, we are utilizing some existing funds. We're utilizing grant funds for product wetlands. Now that we have 2025 money initiated, we can now pair those together and make some bigger improvements. It's required to be a little bit over $500,000 playground, so it's a pretty good playground. So we're also pretty tight on space based on what we own, since it's right next to. Well, we don't really want to go into the wetlands, so it's right next to the parking lot out there. So we think that'll be a high quality playground. And then still hanging on to some money for 8 Price Woodard Park from the land sale over there. Part of that is due to just kind of not knowing the nature of what's happening with Century 2 and things like that. Don't want to go too far and start making large improvements without fully knowing what what else happened with that project. For the scheduled projects, we've been hanging on to walking paths funds for quite a while because that is partly what we're going to be utilizing for Chisholm Creek Park North. So we're taking different youth fundings and putting them together to help make sure that we're getting our match for Chisholm Creek Park North. 2024 parks and enhancements. We're making improvements to Herman Hill, Guardian, Cessna for retaining walls. There are a number of areas where erosion has just taken over and they're affecting driveways, paths, things along those lines. So that's one project that we have ongoing right now. NKEC is doing the designs for that one. We expect to have final plans here probably in the next month or so. Splash pad maintenance, Orchard and, Osage and Fairmount. Look, pros and cons to having designs that are basically the same is that sometimes they have all the good things tend to work, but sometimes when you have bad things with them, they don't work out. So they both are experiencing some leaking issues because they're pretty much a similar design. And so the plan is once splash pads get over or close down, then we'll start working on improvements to those two splash pads, addressing leaks with those splash pads. Downtown restrooms and hydration stations, that one I have final plans that I'm pairing through and making sure they're all to date and finalized for Nassar and A. Price Woodard. This one's taking a little bit longer than we had anticipated, but hopefully putting this out to bid here soon. We have Boston under design right now for drinking fountain at Old Town Plaza. We've worked with and talked with the Old Town Farm and Art Market about the use. We have a good spot identified. I think it's not really invasive to the plaza. We think it will help benefit the users there having a drinking fountain. And so we're just kind of waiting to see how the downtown restrooms kind of pans out bid wise to make sure we have enough money for the Old Town Plaza one. As I mentioned earlier, we were kind of pairing together money for Boston and Evergreen Rec Centers for the roof systems out there. Evergreen and Orchard Rec Centers for their roof systems, and then Boston looking at flooring replacement there. And then this one is actually as of recently needs to be moved over into in progress. They're out there working on improvements to McAdams Park, the kind of sort system out there. Went through an RFP and Multicon was the one that came in on top. They've done a lot of court systems for us in the past, so we're pretty confident that it'll look pretty nice when they get done with it. Moving over to in progress projects. So the top three here are ones that we've been really kind of waiting on. I know many of us have been involved with. Is Country Acres Dog Park. That project is underway and under construction. The plan is to get that done later this winter. We could see that dip into next year. Really just kind of depends on weather and if we get good weather for concrete and things along those lines. But don't foresee that being too very long to do Country Acres. It's not necessarily a complicated project, but mostly just getting utilities figured out, things along those lines, because they're just some utilities in the air that we're running into, just have to deal with. Canine Rooster Dog Park, that is under construction right now. Lots of good photos, lots of things going on out there. So far, so good. Plan to keep it that way. Plan to having this one done here later this fall. I think we're exploring kind of a progressive opening for it. We kind of need to have grass and for dogs to go out there. Otherwise, it's a muddy mess. So we're trying to figure out exactly timing on how that works. We're in kind of the rough time for what type of grass you like to use, cool season, warm season, how do you get that established, that kind of thing is what we're dealing with right now. Or we'll be dealing with Canine Rooster Dog Park. If you haven't been out there, I'd highly suggest you go out there. Dirt is moving for the dog park and the playground. Now that WSU had their most recent meet out there, it was blast last weekend. There were hundreds, if not thousands of people out there. It was a lot of people out there. So now that that's over, and I think we have the disc golf tournament next weekend, and then they'll start working on the trails, getting the trails connected to where they're supposed to go now that the bridges are fully complete. So right now we just need to make sure all the trails connect over at Eldrick and Clap. But playground and dog park are going along pretty well. The playground is going to take probably quite a bit longer than the dog park. I believe, I haven't been out, I didn't go out there today, but they're starting construction for the playground equipment. So you sure start to see it actually come to life. If you walk around, you'll start to see things going in. McAdams facility improvements, for the Brewer Community Center. That is underway. Right now, they're doing mostly things on the existing building and site improvements. If we go out there, and it is a muddy mess, but all good things. It'll take them about a year to get that done. We're hoping that they can get done a lot sooner, a little bit sooner than that, so we can start doing tours and things like that. But it will take a little bit of time for it to be fully complete and for us to occupy the building. As I mentioned earlier, I think this is athletic field renovation. This is for a grant to update the, excuse me. Yeah, this one is for a scoreboard over Barry Sanders Field over at McAdams Park. Park Wetlands Phase 3, that's the large one that's going in District 5. That is extending the west leg of the boardwalk out there. So that's underway. You should start to see construction trucks out there. They mostly did site clearing right now. So a lot of in-shop work for the metal grates for that boardwalk. McAdams Park working on getting new lighting at Robert Thurman Field. That one's been taking a little bit of back and forth to get that one going, but should see that here soon. I think most of these everyone's probably pretty familiar with. Edgemore Park, just need to wrap that one up here soon. Splash pad renewal for 2020, still looking at some what money we can use that for Osage and Fairmount. Crystal Prairie Lake Park, that's one that you'll probably start to hear a lot more on. We received funding, as I mentioned earlier, for that project. We do have a little bit of funding remaining from the previous time it was initiated, so we plan on pairing that money together to help make a good improvement there and get that project going, get people into the park. And O.J. Watson, we still have some funding for that project. So again, with these multiple year projects, we try to pair the money together, try to use it as efficiently as we can. So that's probably been set in progress and then completed one. I won't dig into it too much, but I'll kind of leave it on the ones that were recently completed. O.J. Watson Park over at the Seasons venue, we have security and lighting improvements to that facility. The bridges over at LW Clap have been completed. They look absolutely gorgeous. I think that the design team and the construction team did a really good job over there. And then Sycamore Park, we removed the deteriorating tennis courts at that project. We do plan to utilize some of our walking path funds to help with a walking path over at Sycamore Park. Benefit to that one is that there's a I don't think it's a retirement community, but I think it's like a 55 and older complex that's right next to that park that utilizes the park, but we don't have a walking path for them. So trying to help make sure that we provide walking paths and spaces that are definitely going to get used and stuff. So exploring that one with some remaining funds. So making sure that we're coming back with some improvements after taking out the court sets. So that was a lot of information that I went through, but happy to stand for any questions.
A lot of questions about what projects, and I'm glad that you used the website because this is all listed on the website. So even internally, I'll get calls from different departments and asking the status of a project. Hey, here's what's going on, but hey, you can check it out on the website.
So I have a real basic question, which I've been working around and hearing these over the last couple of years, but the CIP funds are approved by city council. And once they've been approved, they can't be changed. If they've committed money for, let's say, one of these projects, one of these lines right up there, that stays. And even if it's not spent this year, you referred back to 2020, 22, 23, something like that. That money is in your budget and you're just adding more money under the CIP for this 2025 budget.
So the CIP gets approved every year. And typically what happens is as projects are moving forward, that money stays in until that project's completed. Or even if it's not started, sometimes it gets turned over to the following year. And then every year new projects are proposed and sometimes those projects are implemented into the next year's CIP. However, council has the opportunity and the authority to change a project, stop a project, move money from one project to another. They have that authority to do so.
Line item or change that they could say, we just really don't want to do Crystal Prairie or whatever.
They have that ability, yes.
I think supermajority though, it's not just a normal majority, isn't it?
I don't think it takes a super majority. Because what they are voting on is the CIP plan as it is, and they typically vote on it as a complete plan. Here's everything that's in it. They often are briefed on what items are in there, what new projects are in there. So they're familiar and know what's changing in the CIP or what's being proposed, and they can actually ask for things to be taken out or repurposed for something else.
The pickleball thing.
Yep, that went to the multi-agency center for the homeless, so the MEC, yes.
And then how do they know what, and how do we know what the ongoing maintenance is estimated to be? So this is what it costs to implement, but it's not what it costs to maintain.
So we can come up with those costs. We don't necessarily introduce that into a format like this or share what it is, because there's a lot of different variables and we don't know exactly what's going to happen until it's built. However, for parks, I'll just talk in regards to parks. Most of these items are very static. Their infrastructure that's very hard. So the bridges over at Clap, what's the annual maintenance on it? Probably next to nothing. If there is, we're probably going to do something that's a little bit larger in regards to maybe it's painting it or replacing certain parts of it. So that will come out of the more general of a maintenance fund. So it's not necessarily broken down organically to each individual asset, which would be a great program if we did have something that was that granular. But it would also take a lot of time and investment to make that happen as well. Hopefully that answers your question. Okay.
Timmy talked about Chisholm Creek North. I use Chisholm Creek South a lot to walk. Wichita Audubon has a regular monthly bird walk there. Some of those boardwalks are really getting rough and some of the sidewalks are getting uneven level, whatever. I know there's pavement, there is cement, and there's even just regular dirt, gravel paths that people use. That park's used a lot. And I worry somewhat because especially the boardwalks are getting rough. And last time I was there, I saw this replacement on the rails and on the boards themselves. But yeah, I don't know. You said that the north side is used. I think I've walked that once. Seems to be a lot of fishermen over there, a lot of fisher people.
Yes, yeah, luckily, the biggest we probably use your help on, is I think in 2027, we have, I think there's 3 years where we receive money, it's over $1 million for improvements to Chisholm Creek Park South. So I think hear from everyone else to make sure that it stays in there is important, but it is planned in the CIP. It's just not this year.
So that's a great example when we do inspections of our assets and we see things that need to be addressed, we put that as a proposed item in the CIP. So as Tim mentioned, we're proposing it for later on. Hopefully it stays. Improving the north is this opportunity of kind of expanding the footprint a little bit, giving opportunity for people to use different areas. That connection underneath the highway will be a big part of that. So we're pretty excited about that.
Questions? Right. Oh,
Thanks, Tim. Appreciate it.
all right, you're still up there regarding recycling.
I know I told you guys I was going to be working on some more recycling projects. We have just finished budget and a few other things, so I have not spent too much time working on this project, but
We're gonna recycle it for next month.
sure, yes. Yeah. What else you got?
Okay.
Absolutely. All right. Brandon, you're up, sir. Okay. Answer questions you may have.
All right, so this is our financial updates through August of this year. First off, the revenues are looking really strong. So overall, we're about 80% of our budgeted predicted revenues. One of the big items this last month is that we had a Purple Wave auction, and we ended up auctioning off several pieces of equipment, both on the golf side and over on the maintenance side. But yeah, the revenues are looking really strong. As far as the expenses go, it also looks about where I expected to. If every month is equal, we're looking at about 63.3%. And that's where we're at overall. Again, it's not equal over on the recreation side. The majority of our programming and things that we do happen in the spring and summertime. And so there is a reduction in some of that costs that we expect to see in the fall. And these are also these are the adopted from last year budget numbers. I have not updated them from what was just passed a couple of weeks ago. So those aren't the true revised numbers. Those amounts they did go up a little bit, so we do have a little more leeway. That's not. I think I jumped twice. Yep. So as far as cost recovery goes for the recreation side, things are looking pretty strong. Rec centers are at about 26%. We'd like to see them closer to like that 35% range. Shelter rentals are looking good. Summer camp is at 88%. However, this doesn't include the grant funding that we usually get from CSBG. So we haven't received that money yet. So that'll be closer to 100%. Specialty parks, we're looking pretty good. The major ones on here is like at Watson Park, and they're at about 35%, and the Riverside Tennis Center is at 95% so far for cost recovery. Athletics is doing really well with 101% cost recovery. This is mostly fueled by football coming up, and so everybody signing up for football programs. Pools took a little bit of a hit this year, about 29% cost recovery.
That because we closed a month early?
I think so. Well, it was about like 2 weeks.
Okay.
We closed about 2 weeks, and there was also we had several rainy days and things like that. As far as golf goes, I'll let Jesse go into more detail. I think whenever within his presentation, but they're looking really strong. The budget. This is for revenue, so we are doing well with the creation of the revenue side over on golf. And then with the expenditures, again, we're looking at keeping that pace of where we should be. The unencumbered cash balance as of about July 31st was at 1.4, almost 1.5 million. At the end of the year, we'll look at and we'll reset that to about $1 million, and everything that's over that gets captured in and gets to be used for capital projects, for equipment purchases and things like that. So as far as cost recovery, they're all doing well. They're all making money and doing well. McDonald's is a little bit lower on that side, just because I think what they were for a month. So. Texas was per month. Well, they're all down. So And with that, you guys have any questions? Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Brian. Brian, you got a communication update?
We do not have a communication update because nothing was communicated to the city manager and council.
I guess, Phil, is this where we wanna, do you wanna share?
Sure, I just, so last week I had a meeting with Councilmember Ho Heisel. And since that time, I'd like to talk to a couple of neighborhood presidents around Clap concerning what's gone on since our last meeting about extending the lease to continue what he's doing inside the clubhouse. And as y'all know, there's been some, I call it misinformation put in the paper because I believe a certain reporter is still unhappy with the fact that we closed that site as a golf course and have moved it to something else. It's taking continued liberty to point out things that are incorrect, such as the thing is 2,800 square feet when actually it's very smaller than that because most of it's unusable space because it's a basement. So talking to those two neighborhood presidents and such, I wanted to come back to the rest of the board and say, you know, I'll go back to council and say, I think it's a mistake not to continue with having Doug utilize the clubhouse. It's very small. He's done a lot of work to it. He helps maintain the park. I know they're concerned about a 5-month lease, but if we go back as a board and say, if we would give him the minimum lease, which is average for commercial uses, which is 36 months, right? Typical escalations in it for, you know, because I hate to see that the tournaments that are happening every year, because he has 2 or 3 a year that they're bringing people from all over. I mean, after the last one, I saw 10 players from Oklahoma and Missouri and Texas. So he's got something started there that if we pull him out of there would stop that, which is, you know, I mean, nobody knew when it was closed what it was going to turn out like. And he's done so much to, you know, further, you know, the good use of it. And so I just hate to see that we pull the lease on him for that very reason. Right? He's been a good tenant and has now become like a premier disc golf for the city. So I know it kind of ended where they were going to somewhat offer him another lease and then put it out for RFP, but I don't know who else you could offer that such a small space to. That's something that's very park and rec specific. So I just want to put that out there. Just, you know.
Who else would be the level of ownership that he's worked with the staff. I know they've been excellent. Not even just maintaining that building, but maintaining the overall park, providing updates, cleanup, all of those things as things come up. I think, yeah, I agree with Phil. I think it'd be a mistake to move on from that relationship or to do something that would.
So the outcome of the council meeting is we'll go month to month for the next few months, no more than a year. We're going to develop a request for proposal. A request for proposal, my perspective, will have needed items that we want to continue this type of service at that location. Somebody who has experience, background in golf tournaments, somebody who's willing to work with the community in regards to volunteers, cleaning up the park, maintaining the park, somebody who's we have a golf cart there that is used for individuals that have disabilities or some type of condition that doesn't allow them to walk around. And so this is one of the things that we didn't talk about at the council meeting, but Duck provides that and makes a reservation. So that's, you know, these are all the things that we do to accommodate all of our residents. With the improvements coming onto the park, having that presence is going to be really critical and important. And I'm glad you brought that up in regards to the square footage, because that's something I failed to talk about at the council meeting. And you're absolutely right. The downstairs is where we used to actually store all the golf carts. The upstairs where, yes, retail, but there's also some areas in regards to just a lounge area, and then the bathrooms, that's probably 700 square feet. So that would be the only usable part that could be used for retail. Obviously, from staff's perspective, it was a smaller amount of a agreement, and these are all things that I mentioned at the council meeting, and
This is my way of showing support for you, right?
Sure.
So,
I wasn't quite done yet.
yeah, no, but just saying.
So, obviously, it was a great way to work with a vendor that is doing great, supporting us, and is a great tenant. So we'll put the request for proposal out, and I highly expect Chris, who owns Ducks, they'll put in their bid, and we'll see how it goes. So
What's the hope to get $800 instead of $500? And then from there, like what's it actually it's gonna cost more than that for legal, for city staff in production to take time away from actually working on other projects versus putting out this RFP and going through a review process? Like, do we have an idea of how much that's gonna cost us? Because it's gonna be, I don't know that we're gonna net gain anything significant versus working with a tenant that we've already have an excellent relationship with. They understand us, we understand them.
yeah, I agree that there's a cost in regards to putting out the request for proposal. I have some numbers in my head, but I'm not going to share those because I can't verify every single dollar, and then this is being recorded. So, but absolutely right. There's a cost in regards to putting out the RFP, and it's really going to be interesting to see what that gain is. However, one thing I do understand, and one thing that I think is important that we really didn't talk about at council is putting it in a situation where two things, where there's more transparency, but I think we were pretty transparent. We came to this board.
We all supported it unanimously.
Sure. And there's been a lot of talk about this. It's been out there many years also prior to that. So I think we were pretty transparent, but I think one of the things that we try to do is to make sure that everybody has an opportunity to partake in these type of partnerships. I'm going to call this a partnership. So without looking at my crystal ball and seeing what's happening, I think Ducks could provide a solid proposal, and I think would be highly reviewed, and probably will meet most of the needs that we have. We'll see if anybody else has those type of initiatives to do that.
You know how First Tee,
And I'm sorry, one more thing, if you don't mind.
go ahead.
I definitely think somebody from the board will be on the review committee.
Sure. Makes sense for both
the
districts.
We typically have somebody from the park board sit on these type of RFPs. So I'm sorry to interrupt.
Oh, you're fine. So is there a possibility where Duck can spearhead a foundation or a nonprofit like First Tee, like what we heard from the football? It's not the football, it's the rugby. That has their own foundation.
Sure, I think
If there's all this success in this, which there seems to be.
and that could be part of the request for proposal. Is, and we could say, say part of it is expected type of programming. This is what we did with First Tee, is that we expect they're using McDonald Golf Course. So the expectation is that they should have X amount of classes and those type of things. So that's definitely something that could be part of the proposal.
But is the foundation necessary though for it? Because, Stryker doesn't have a foundation.
They got a nonprofit?
Do they have a nonprofit arm?
I don't know, I'm asking.
I don't think they do. So it's not necessary for the city to.
It's not necessary,
Yeah.
but those are all added things that
Yeah.
make that partnership even more valuable.
Exactly. It's more palatable to folks.
The other part of it too is, you mentioned it in regards to the economic impact. We're going after not two, at least one national tournament there. And we know that each time he puts the tournament out there, it's really successful. He makes a little bit of money.
You ain't getting rich though, right?
It's not getting rich.
It's not,
It's
it's not.
activating
Yeah,
the
exactly.
community and, you know,
But the perception is that
make it accessible to people.
he's getting a handout. We're actually, we're getting, I think, the stronger benefit of this partnership because I think about, right now, his bathroom times is limited. I think he's going from 11 to 5 o'clock. But he's cleaning those bathrooms every day. And if I was to go pay somebody to sit there, if I was to pay somebody to clean those, definitely be more than $6,000. It'd be definitely more than $10,000. So there's a lot of hidden advantages that you really can't, you know, unless you
There
really.
are times that they don't email you or Gary and say, hey, there's trash needs to be cleaned up. I'll call him. Say, hey, there's trash to be cleaned up. Would you mind taking care of it? And he just takes care of it. So.
And he came on board as a partner when this whole park was still in limbo. I mean, I think that that's one thing that we can't be overlooked is we didn't know what the CLAP master planning process was gonna come out. But he took a chance on us just as much as we took a chance on them. So I agree with Phil. I don't know how you want us to phrase this. Communications up to the manager's office and the council, but
Here's my suggestion, and since we're not gonna, you're not really voting on anything.
sure.
My suggestion is you write something up, Phil, you write what that communication is. And you get support from your fellow board members and bring it back the next meeting. And I could share that. Does that sound fair?
That sounds fair.
Did the media contact you, Phil?
No.
Did it contact you? How did they get their information?
They did it. They did the what?
How did they get information?
The agenda and minutes are published.
Oh, so they just kind of,
Very big.
yeah,
And he did a property search to get the square footage. Look up any property, look at the square footage, but it didn't tell you the specifics about the building. He used information from the master plan that's no longer being used anymore. So the observation hill and all the things that were initially designed, none of that's being used. We scaled it down just to the 3 items: dog park, playground, and the bridges and walkways. That is it. Why? Because we heard overwhelmingly loud feedback saying most people were not really interested in the master plan. Now that master plan that was created actually went through a committee.
Mhm.
A committee of stakeholders and neighborhood folks created that master plan. Also, it went to the DAB, and the DAB also approved it as well. So, you know, there's a lot of different steps in there where things change and perceptions change as well. And I think we were reactive to that. So the idea of doing something ultra fantastic was the ultimate goal at one point in time. Realistically, that changed, and all these changes happened to what we have now, which is still a great park. I mean, I get rave reviews, and once we get the playground in, dog park's completed, I think it's going to be a total gem. Used it this past weekend for a pretty large cross-country meet. We have, I think, at least 2, if not 3 more cross-country meets, and ESU is hosting their conference championships there. So schools from all over the conference is going to be coming to this. So we adapt, we change, we move. That doesn't necessarily mean that all the old ideas were bad. It just means changed. So.
And one thing, Troy, that, because I was all in favor of the big glorious plan with lakes and ponds and stuff like that, but if I remember correctly, when we were going through the master planning process, the community overwhelmingly said they just wanted to be able to access the green space. They wanted to be able to walk in their park and be a part of their community and their neighborhood. And so this refined park is reflective of that. And we reacted to what the community wanted, not some special interest group, it was, I mean, it was years of,
Yeah.
it was really years of listening to
2
folks.
years, I mean. that's
Yeah.
what it was, yeah.
Mhm.
And one last thing. I read the article, and it mentioned that the city was planning on selling this off.
Oh, no.
That was never, ever even suggested. A lot of folks kind of get confused when we say we want to make some park improvements, or there's going to be park development. So that word development to some folks means development of new strip mall or housing or whatnot. Now, somebody did suggest it, but we had never followed that path, because overwhelmingly, more than anybody else, the community says they wanted this to stay a green space. So emphatically, I can say that that was never even.
All right, so Phil, you'll put something together.
Sure will. I just want to put that out there. Just wait your board saying, you got support from us. So
Yeah, well, I believe we had 6 members here last month, and we had 6 vote in favor of it, so. Okay, but we'll keep it moving then. Katie, social media?
I'll be really brief. I didn't prepare a PowerPoint because a lot of the stats are kind of the same. Again, just some of the pages are increasing incrementally as they do every month. Some of the big topics and highlights from last month were aquatics, as always expected in August, especially with some of the early closures, people making comments about the drought and what we're doing about water savings and all that. So that was kind of the big topic last month. I did want to put out some feelers that I'm about to do the parks and open spaces survey again this year. So expect to see that here in the next couple weeks. I'll be asking for your help again, sharing that with your district community members. We'll probably send it out to the DABs as well, just to make sure that we get as far reach as possible with getting survey responses, so that we can make sure to make some improvements based on community feedback.
Survey will come out next month
But yeah, probably before the next meeting.
or the next meeting.
Yeah.
Reggie, you're up, sir.
So we have just one thing we want to give you guys an update on. That was a transition for this fiscal year that you may not have been aware of. Is that this year Recreation is actually taking over the Mayor's Youth Council, and we'll be administering that through the Parks Department. We have a team that's in place that's helping guiding them with some of the things that they're doing. In the past, the way it was structured is that the Mayor's Youth Council was actually led by one of the interns in the manager's office. So there was concern with being consistency from each year, because there was a new person that came in, then had to learn the process all over again. So this process will give some consistency with having a full-time staff member that will be dedicated with making sure they have a good program that operates consistently each year. So as part of that, Alicia Hardy, Cardi Hardison, and Angela Buckner are our 2 team leads that's helping lead that process, along with Sarah from the mayor's office, who's assisting with that as well. So the mayor did come out to our first meeting, and Kenny gave a comprehensive overview of how the council is constructed, and giving some feedback to those youth members on encouraging them to be involved with different things that we have in the community. And I know Troy mentioned last month about wanting to get more of the youth involved in some of the existing communities in the community, so we can have a youth perspective. And I also mentioned about whether someone may be interested in being on the park board, and we do have some young people that expressed some interest in that. So we're going to explore that further and see what we can do, potentially getting them engaged with that. Just some history on it. The Mayor's Youth Council was actually formed in 2008 by Mayor Brewer. And that's kind of evolved since then during that time frame with the oversight, like I mentioned earlier, and trying to make sure that we address relevant issues in the community and having that youth perspective and getting them involved. Last year, we have a delegate that went to the League of Cities Summit that was in Atlanta. We're planning to see what we can do again this year for us. They're going to be in Tampa and getting some youth representation there to go and kind of find out what things they're doing in other cities that we can bring back here to keep youth engaged and involved. And one of the big things that we're working on right now is the violence interrupters that we talked about. We're getting youth involved in some things to help kind of for some of the violence that we're having in the community and giving you perspective on some things that will be productive to keep them engaged. And then kind of finally, they meet on the second of each month, and this is kind of what the overview and the goal of what their responsibilities are. So last year with the youth council, we had 33 members that were on the youth council. So they pretty much everyone that applied for the youth council was accepted. This year, we made the process a little bit more stringent, a little bit more selective, so we can make sure we have people that truly wanted to be engaged and involved. So we went through the interview process, and we have 20 young people that are on the council this year. So we feel really good about that and having some good representation from different portions of the public come out and give them different perspectives of how it's impacting the community as a whole. So we're excited about it. Now I'm saying for any questions that you guys may have about the transition moving forward.
Questions for Reggie? This is awesome. This is a really cool project. All right, Jesse, you're up, sir.
All right, I'll go through our numbers first. I'll go pretty quick. If you guys have any questions or need me to elaborate, just stop me and I'll be glad to do so. Year to date rounds comparison, we're down about 10,000 overall. Again, Texas was closed for a month. We've had a lot more rain this year, so pretty happy with where we're at there. August rounds, looking at that month specifically, we're about 3,000 rounds down from last year, but we do about 800 to 900 rounds a day. So 3 days of rain makes up that difference. So all in all, pretty much right in line with last year. Cart rentals were slowly catching back up to where we were at last year after the closure. So I think, again, I've said it before, I think by the end of the year, we'll be back on track with where we were at last year. So pretty happy with how we've recovered so far. Food and beverage, we are really close, almost within $2,000 of last year up to this point. Again, with the course being closed, pretty happy with that. We on this note, we did just fill the food and beverage / marketing position. He started basically this week. So really excited to bring Trevor on and get him going in that role. Driving ranges just continue to go crazy. We're 30,000 up over last year, and last year we didn't think we could fit any more people out there. So just keeps going bonkers. And on that note, with the driving range at Mac, we just resodded the entire tee box. It's a smaller area with that much traffic. There's just no grass, so we went to a different type of grass to recover a lot faster. So it should be better conditions. We do have the mats at Mac. That's the only one we have mats. So we're lucky we have that in place so we can do that during the growing season. And merchandise sales, we are a little bit up from last year. Texas up, even though they were closing. I think again that's because of the simulator. He's able to fit for clubs now and do true club fittings and sell more stuff at clubs. So overall, happy there. Total revenue, we've just again goes through the month of August. We just went over $4.5 million. You see my fund balance is about 75,000 more than what Brandon showed. That's because there is the merchandise that we've sold at Auburn that we had to purchase. We've sold just about $80,000 worth, and that has not been journal entry into the revenue. So I added it to my numbers, but we're in the same place. So all in all, really pretty happy with where we're at. We do have the 4 project funds. I started adding this. We have basically an overall bucket that's got $190,000 currently. And at the end of the year, like Brandon said, anything over $1 million will automatically filter into this general project fund. And then there's 4 buckets we use. The cart fund it changes literally every minute. Every time we sell a cart, money goes into that fund, but it's around 775,000, so it's doing exactly what we hoped it would. Equipment fund, we're close to 100,000, even after the purchase of several pieces of equipment. Clubhouse renovation fund, we still have 66,000 after the renovation, so we'll be doing that to kind of fill in the things that we want to do to the clubhouses. And grounds fund is anything we want to do on the course. So we've got about 1.2 million in the project funds. And then, so let me stop there for a minute. Any questions on the numbers of financing? Got it. And then one thing I want to mention before I go back, this Saturday at McDonald's Golf Course, we're having Ladies Appreciation Day. So the whole day is going to be dedicated to women's golf. We've definitely increased the participation of women at our golf courses, which has been a big goal. Really happy with where that's going, the direction it's going. So this is just a day to celebrate that. There's going to be a lot of things. I won't go through it all. It's all on the website. Kind of a timeline. We've got clinics, contests, giveaways. We've got a Q&A with some of the golf pros and myself. We're going to have a free 9-hole scramble with prizes. We've got some donations and different things to give away to the winners and people that show up for this. So we'll have merchandise on sale out on the driving range. Should be a really good day. So looking forward to Saturday. And I'll stand for any questions anyone has.
That's your sponsor.
Strixon? Yeah, that's one of them. Oh, yeah, she'll be there.
All right, thank you. Great job, Jesse. All right, Gary.
It's good. Mine's gonna be even shorter. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to do a little bit different presentation today, just keep things a little bit more compact. But I've been promising you for a long time this was going to happen, so I want to show you today it has actually happened. But we keep track of a lot of different things with our data that we collect, and this is our public-facing website. And if you go to that and then go to operations, right here, there is a little blurb right in here on the top talking about the resources that it takes to accomplish some of these things and some of the drain on our resources with homeless cleanup, with illegal dumping and all that. So that information is through this hotkey right here. It takes you to a new site. And there is a plethora of information along with a interactive map. So this, it comes up on illegal dumping. You can scroll into and zoom into any of these dots. You can click on that. Some information about that work order can come up. You can look through that. You can select various years of information. So right now, all the years that we have the data are visual through these graphs. But if you wanted to select, say, just 2021, the graphs change, and you can look at that, look at costs, etc. So back to all, and then so homeless remediation. You can see where throughout the city we have executed work orders there. It says this in that blurb, but I wanted to make sure that you all knew this for sure. This data, especially with the homeless remediation, these work orders that are represented here are just the work orders that internal staff handles. So it's our staff, when we contract out the cleanup, we do it internally. This does not include what the hot team contracts. So there's significantly more activity going on in the city than what is represented here, but we don't get their data. So I just wanted for you to know there's more of this going on in the city than what is represented here, but this is what we deal with. Graffiti removal, of course, we do quite a bit of that. Vandalism is all the same format. a lot of these different, boxes, you can put on that just to make it bigger if you're doing a presentation like I'm doing, and it makes it easier for people to see. So, any questions?
How live is this? Is it, it's like a
It
week?
updates every month. So it doesn't update daily, but it does update every month. And I think this type of information really does tell a good story. It tells an unfortunate story, but it tells a story about where our resources are being utilized and what the cost is to the community of some of these activities.
Gary, did they have tree maintenance or other
This does not involve tree maintenance on this one. This is just the illegal dumping, the homeless remediation, graffiti removal, vandalism. We can develop that. A lot of that information is already developed. We just don't have it on a public facing format yet.
So what's really kind of cool is the banner up there tells you which one you're clicking on. So one of the things that went into the budget for this year is going to be implemented next year is we're consolidating from Public Works some of the illegal dumping. So Gary gets the opportunity and the challenge to be the city's sole provider in regards to illegal dumping. Not just on Parkland, but it's going to be at other locations as well in the right of ways. We'll continue with this particular piece of information. The vandalism is really a question I always get all the time. And the question also in regards to graffiti. So now we have this on here, and I always get that question. Can you give me that data? Can you give me this information? Now it's good to just say, hey, it's on your website. So I really want to thank Gary and his team, and we also work with the IT department in regards to getting this done. So this is a really powerful tool on a lot of different levels, but it really tells a story of a lot of different activities that we do. We don't budget for graffiti, and we don't budget for vandalism. It takes away from all of our other duties that we have to take. So obviously, when it gets graffiti, it's our intent, and we do this very well. It's out there and clean it up. Yeah, it's just another typical cleaning activity that we do. But just imagine if we didn't have to do that. Just imagine if we didn't have to pick up all the illegal dumping. Just imagine if we didn't have to deal with the vandalism. So again, just to summarize this, thank you very much. Did a great job.
This is brand new.
The information or the public facing activities, yes, this is within the past week and a half or so that this has been up.
So you don't know how many hits you've gotten, how many that was trafficking.
Katie's gonna have to help me out on how to track that.
Unfortunately, it's a little bit hidden.
Yeah.
But I think if the question comes out and share this with on social media for people to know how to get cleaned onto here.
I get that question a lot when I'm out in the village. If I never see anybody out there working, I see all this trash or I see graffiti, I think, well, I see them when they're out there because I'm looking for
Yeah, and
it. I can direct them.
you can direct them to this, and this shows work order. This does not show our open work orders. Like on the forestry side, we have a map that shows forest open work orders or closed work orders, depending on how much you filter for. This just shows closed work orders. This is work that's completed. It gives you the cost and all that stuff. So one thing I did want to mention in terms of things going on the maintenance side is our Mantis, which is that maintenance, the land clearing maintenance machine that we've got. It is doing some fantastic work along the riverbank now for sure. If you go south off Lincoln, you can see the difference between the West Bank and the East Bank. And the East Bank hasn't been done yet. We're going to get there, but it's just a completely stark difference. is doing great work. One of the additions that we made to that is a fire suppression skid that goes on the front of it. It had a 3-point attachment as a part of the machine. And a fire skid on that, or manufactured that in-house, because with the debris that thing can come in contact with, sometimes little grass fires pop up. So instead of having to shut down the machine, wait for the fire department to get there, which the fire department's great, but there's an amount of time that it takes for them to get there, the fire grows. Well, we can be on that within, a matter of 30 seconds to a minute, and it's out, it's done, and work. So that protects the machine, it protects the community around us. It was just a really great addition that was developed in-house. And so I really want to say thanks to our staff for making that happen. So any questions?
That's awesome. Thank you, Gary. Appreciate it. All right. Doug, do you got an update from the Park Foundation?
I just have a, because I wasn't. Actually, I forgot my book. So first meeting, I don't know who all attends. There were 5 at the meeting, and that Brent was one of them.
There's a couple that were on virtual as well.
Oh, that's true. Yeah. Were you? That's right. You were there too. Sorry. And my CPA was on virtual.
There you go.
Mallory.
He's your CPA. Small world. He's a good one.
Yeah. Anyway, 300,000 a year for plates.
That's awesome.
And so that's pretty darn good. I guess there's going to be some changes in the plates. I didn't get the notes.
The change is going to be that after January, you'll have the opportunity to personalize your plate, but it's only 5 letters. So if I want to personalize my plate, I could put PNR for Parks and Recreation. I could put Troy if I wanted to, which I think PNR would be better. But yeah, so folks that want to personalize their Wichita flag plate, they'll have that ability.
It'll be the flag plate and then your personalization. Wonderful.
Only 5.
Yeah, only 5 in it. And it all goes to Park and Recreations. Okay. So there's another project that's pretty exciting, just starting out. So I'll give you an update on all that.
Great. All right. Anything else from that? Thank you, Doug. I don't have a president's update. I just want to applaud the staff. You all do an awesome job maintaining our parks, and we might not think about it, but I used to work in talent retention, and young folks, when they're thinking about what city they're gonna live in, often don't even necessarily look at jobs. They look at the amount of green space. And so I think as a city, we don't talk about our parks department enough and the assets that we have here. So I just want to say, thank you to Troy and the team. You guys do really an exceptional job of maintaining that city and creating a space for people to gather. I'm sorry.
So director's update, just a couple things I just want to touch base on. Once in a while, we make mistakes, and my department has made a few mistakes. But by and large, we do a whole lot of great things. And thank you very much for that compliment, because I agree that with the staff that we have, we do some great things. At the council meeting, at the worst possible time, almost feeling like I think was discovered in regards that we weren't charging the full amount that they were supposed to be charged. We are working on making some adjustments and changes, but by and large, I think we are doing what we're supposed to be doing. There's a question in regards to competence and whatnot, and I think our team is fully competent and very dedicated and hardworking. So I do apologize that we did make a mistake, and up to that, and that I think as the leader of this department, I think it's important that I admit when we have to make some improvements. So, however, it came at the worst possible time. I'm extremely embarrassed, and I am very keen on making some adjustments to making some changes. So other than that, I just wanted to share that I really enjoy working with my team, and I think this is one of the best jobs I've ever had. And I really enjoyed being here. And I do appreciate the support of the park board.
People make mistakes. We all do. So it's just, you know,
It was de minimis too. It was small.
yeah, it's a fact of life.
It was like,
Then like it's not a ill intent.
Well, no, it wasn't ill intent, but however, the way it came out was extremely embarrassing. All I can say is, we keep improving, that's all. So,
Well, with that, thank you, Troy, for all your guys' effort and hard work, but meeting adjourned. I haven't. But I know that's.
Or you can,
yeah, I heard about it, but I thought that's not even worth talking about. You know, so, you know, it wasn't anything.
Yeah.
something to do.
Concern that I would have. Oh, so my point was, wow, you know, I've been on committees and
Oh, yeah.
committees, and it's always nice to, because I've invested so much in those committees like you have.
Yeah, absolutely.
So what information, if any, would you like to have? Just me talking to you.
From the Barton Foundation, I would just be really, so when, in my time with them, we had a lot of park projects coming up